get started, I just want to say, my friend Ryancam, thank you for this collaboration on me, and I can't wait to see. So why don't you check out his review first, and then afterwards we'll check out my review. Thank you so much, Ryan, for doing this for me, man. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed the film. Now on to his review. Thanks so much, guys.
Hey, did you hear the gossip? No, not the gossip. Gossip. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryancam. Thank you, Jacob, for having me back on your channel, this time to talk about a movie I had literally never heard of before. A movie called Gossip. It was released in the year 2000, and it starred James Marsden, Norman Reedus, and Lita Headey. It tells the story of three college students who basically create a project for one of their classes around the idea of gossip and how fast gossip can spread. They start a rumor, and, well, the rumor gets pretty out of control. It's like what they say in Inception: the most resilient parasite is an idea. Again, I had never heard of this movie's existence until Jacob asked me to watch it and review it as part of this video. But what drew me to the movie and made me initially interested was James Marsden, Norman Reedus, and Lena Headey. All three of them would go on to have very successful careers. James Marsden, the same year this movie was released, would be Cyclops in the Bryan Singer / Brett Ratner X-Men movies. Lena Headey would go on to be in stuff like Game of Thrones, and she would be Mama in the Dredd movie that we got about 10 years ago, which she was really good in that. And then Norman Reedus, who, would go on to be one of the henchmen in Blade 2, and of course would be Daryl Dixon in the Walking Dead universe. So looking at this movie is kind of a snapshot of three actors who have not hit their stride yet, but they're just about to. And all around, the performances are very solid. The idea is that these students have to sell the fact that they have started something that they just cannot stop. And they do the job just about as admirably as possible. They basically center this rumor around this one girl named Naomi Preston, played by a very young Kate Hudson. And basically it all revolves around a disturbing incident that happened, and I'm sure Jacob is going to talk all about it. But the conceit is that once gossip starts, you just can't stop it. It just is a seed that is planted, and just that's it. It's game over. Even though they're the initial starter of the rumors, like, I'm on top of it. In reality, no, they're not. This movie has twists and turns, and honestly, like I said, didn't expect to like it, but really did. And it really comes down to these actors really selling the fact that, yeah, they have screwed up royally, and they sell it well. There are some parts of the movie that really haven't aged the best, but when you consider movies from the early 2000s, that's kind of expected. To me, the one part that stood out was just the fact that these are college students, and yet they live in this very bougie apartment. I'm just sitting there like, their parents must be rich, because there's no way that these three can afford this apartment together. But largely, I would give this overall a solid B or even a B+. This is a movie that I had no expectation of liking, but I ended up really liking it. But thank you to Jacob for having me back on your channel to talk about Gossip. Back to you.
Thanks, Ryan, so much. I'm so glad you did this for me. By the way, if you can give us a like and subscribe to him, link in the description below. I'm thankful so much, buddy, for doing this for me. I'm so glad. Also, we do small talk, by the way. Fantastic. Me, him, and Matt Wyatt. Check that out sometime. All right, now back to the movie review. All right, Gossip. Welcome to 3D movie cinema, the only show that's 3 dimensions away from gossip crossing over Gossip Girl. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Gossip, released in 2000. Gossip is a movie that is directed by David Guggenheim and is written by Gregory Piera and Teresa Rebick. The movie stars James Marsden, Lena Headey, Norman Reedus, Kate Hudson, Joshua Jackson, and Edward James Olmos. The movie is essentially about three friends, played by Lena Headey, James Marsden, and Norman Reedus, that basically does an art project for their class in college they decide to spread gossip around, and the gossip, of course, James Marsden, who's an accomplished gossiper, basically spreads a rumor around that Kate Hudson is no longer a virgin. And so basically the rumor spreads to where eventually she's like, I don't remember having sex. And then eventually ends up accusing her boyfriend of rape. And then just to where one rumor just that keeps getting bigger and bigger to eventually ends up to being rape. And then eventually he ends up having to go to jail. And so much legal consequences happens to where it's like they're ruining both Kate Hudson's and Joshua Jackson's life when neither one of them did nothing wrong. I actually like this idea of a movie because we're living kind of in modern times in a way of gossip, because essentially you could go and gossip about somebody and lie about somebody and just ruin their life. We literally just watched a trial last year, the Johnny Depp trial, where essentially we watched, essentially where one lie was told and then it just became bigger to where it ruined his life and then so forth. So where we ended up having to, we went basically, this becomes modern. I mean, there's people that just lie all the time, like say, hey, this person, if you look at certain things that have happened in the last 5 years or 6 years, where people will just say, hey, this person did something horrible to me, and then they lose their whole life or career or livelihood over it. And so I think that this movie is very timely in that sense. I mean, I don't think it should be called gossip, because gossip is just spreading stuff about them that is true. It should be called lies or rumors or misinformation or tales or tall tales or something like that, because I just feel like gossip is not something. But here's an example of gossip. Okay, gossip would be like if I tell somebody that this is true, like say, hey, I heard this person wear high heels. That's and then they do. That's gossip. But if I go around, say for instance, like if I go around telling somebody, like if I have a friend, okay, Ryan, Ryan from my Ryancam from that's on Small Talk with me. If I go around telling people that about Ryan, which by the way, again, that's just, it's a joke. He did not. None of that is true. So why? But then, like, say if somebody took that and ran with it, then Ryan would be like, "No, I swear I didn't." And so it'd be like that. Like people calling Ryan a donkey fucker. And so and then Ryan's like, "I've never done this at all." And so it'd be like that. And just like how one lie could ruin somebody's life, even though it's not true. And so I think that's what I like about this idea, is how they go around telling some like these lies about her, saying like, oh, she made out. They're like, oh, she made out with him at the place, and then like it goes on, and then it goes around. You can see all the gossip that's spreading around. Then eventually goes to, they had sex, and then of course then it's like, oh no, he raped her, and that's how it gets even more severe. And the cops are investigating. He has to go to jail. He has to get a lawyer and all that stuff. And then he, of course, being a guy's like, yeah, I did have sex with her after but that wasn't. And then there's like so many plot twists and turns. Like James Marsden, who this is the same year he did X-Men, and Lena Headey, who would go on years later to do Game of Thrones. And then, of course, Norman Reedus, who would go on years later to do The Walking Dead around the same time as Game of Thrones. They both, kind of launched their careers years later. And this was, the first one. James Marsden's career kind of took off from X-Men onward. And I think this movie, and Kate Hudson, obviously, would go on years later with, Matthew McConaughey movies and stuff. And Joshua Jackson was already famous from Dawson's Creek. And I think that is what's so great about this movie, is that it's how one lie can ruin somebody's life. And I think that's what's so great about this movie. And I like that the ideas of this movie is that, you could spread one lie and it turns out, there are things I like about this movie. I like, obviously, the structured plot point, and I like how the gossip spreads, and then how it, you see Lena Headey feels bad that she's spreading this information about her about Kate Hudson. And she kind of goes to confront her, then she finds out about her ex-boyfriend, she says James Marsden's name, and then she basically goes to her old high school, and she sees pictures where they were prom king and queen, and they knew each other. And then at the beginning of the movie, you see James Marsden watching her make out with her boyfriend in the bathroom, and so you kind of see that it was there that they were making out and everything. And so you can see, and then it kind of leaves it open, interpreting why was James Marsden there. And then it kind of just builds on to where you find out that spoilers, you haven't seen this movie, he raped her back then and there. And then of course his family, money and everything, covered it all up. And then of course he transferred to another college. He transferred to either another high school, I think. And then when they went to college, I guess he transferred to this college because of her. And so then of course them living three as best friends, he's trying to ruin this girl's life. So then of course he spreads lies about her, so that way I guess it can ruin his life, and then it can ruin her life. And so I guess he rapes her again, but then frames her boyfriend for it. And it's even more horrific and messed up because of that. First off, that is just like, the most messed up thing. He did it twice to her. And then like you find she commits suicide, and there's just so many twists and turns on this movie. It's just so many crazy, especially the ending where like, he's under investigation and then he tries to frame Norman Reedus. There's so many things that I do like about that. I do like that they framed like he was the one that did it twice, and then of course how the boyfriend tries to confront and beat him up, and then he tries to talk to the boyfriend, but then he beats him up, and then of course and then of course how you find out that James Marsden's like the villain of this movie the whole time. And Norman Reedus, I feel like there are things I don't like about his character. I like that he's trying to be an artsy fartsy guy, but then I don't like that they try to make him like almost like a stalkerish kind of guy, where he has like a art obsession to where he's like borderline stalker. I don't like that aspect of him. I do think that there's dumb things about this movie, like I don't like the fact that why would you go in there and lay in a bed? You go to the party, get drunk, and then go lay in a bed at a club. Why would they even have a bed at a club? Because most of the time people be having sex in that bed. It makes no sense for that to happen. Also, there's cops. The cops hide in the bedroom. They like kind of got you to James Marsden at the end of the movie. What if you would have went upstairs? We just see a bunch of in the room and Kate Hudson and everybody like, hey, I mean, like things like that kind of make no sense logically. And also the fact that a lot of James Marsden is able to sneak away to Kate Hudson's room, and then he tells her, why wouldn't she just report him to the police? Why would they have to do a gotcha situation? And also, I mean, there's people there to back him up, and also, there's just so many things about this movie. I'm like, that doesn't make sense logic-wise. And also, James Marsden, I do think it's funny how the professor tries to play gotcha when in the room where he exposes him to class, because it's like, hey, we really can't do nothing to him, but we can just basically ruin his life through gossip. I kind of like how it parallels to that. It's like, yeah, we can't really touch you, but we can ruin your life through gossip. Which, to be fair, he raped a woman twice. If she pressed charges, he goes to jail for rape, because he have an open confession of him admitting to being raping Kate Hudson. So essentially, you have him confession, so he can go to jail for that. Like that is right there. You have him. That's a slam dunk open case right there. I do like that they faked Lena Headey's death. I do kind of wish that they would have. I wish they kind of would have left Kate Hudson as dead, and then they kind of basically would have had. They would have had and then of course Lena Headey dies and James Marsden goes to jail for the murder. I think that would have worked well. I just wish that they kind of would have did that instead. But I do like the ending, how it just like. They got you and everything, but I just kind of wish it would have done it differently. I think, I mean, and also I like that how James Marsden like essentially like they're friends. You believe that they're truly friends, and then like like how they care about each other, and it turns out the James Marsden is using both of them for his own personal gain. And like I like how he feels like he's a victim, and even though he's not the victim, and he's just plotting his revenge against Kate Hudson, and so he ends up doing that, ruin her life by doing something heinous to her twice. And so it's this movie does have a lot of twists and turns, and there are people out there like James Marsden's character in the movie, and so I do like that. And I also like that at the end when like he tries to frame, because he thinks Norman is an idiot, he tries to frame him and it's like go tell the police you were at her house last night. Like, no. And then like he puts in Jordan his like he knows that he's trying to trick him, so he puts the panties or whatever, he puts her hairbrush in the drawer, and he's like, that's not. He said, no, that's my room up there. He goes, yeah, and that's the officer, yeah. And I just thought that was great. I mean, to be fair, I thought that was well done. I actually really like that. This movie is a fantastic movie. If you've never seen this movie, it's fantastic. And I also just want to say that thank you so much to Ryan for this review, and sorry about hazing him and joking with him, even though he knows. I just feel bad about doing this. Sorry about the donkey jokes, man, but he's a good sport about it, though. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to Ryan for his collaboration. And I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been great this year for Halloween and everything. And I'm grateful. If I had to give this movie a grade, I would give it a solid A-. Thank you so much.
If this is such a terrible thing, how come it hasn't been in the newspaper?
Ms. Jones, maybe you have an opinion.
It's just gossip right now, isn't it?